Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the corner. Welcome to your latest Chelsea news. Well, look, this particular news, which is dropped by David Ornstein literally a few hours ago, Orny, who makes us all nice and horny. In this case, I think he's going around making everyone horny, not just one club. I know Liverpool are probably the most connected with Semenyo, but there are rumors that there are several other Premier League clubs that could be interested here, and one potentially could be Chelsea. Now, I'm here to say why I feel Chelsea are probably not going to pursue this, but nonetheless, we need to talk about Antoine Semenyo's latest news, which is in relation to his release clause. How much is the release clause? Is it possible that Chelsea go in on this in January? This, that, the other. We're going to delve deep into that. We've got some news in relation to Nicolas Jackson as well. We'll talk about that. But also a very, very interesting piece of article that came out. Romeo Lavia apparently was given as an option for a swap deal with Garnacho to Man United. So we need to look into that. As I said, Nicolas Jackson, he has no intention to come back to Chelsea. We'll talk about that. And last but not least, there is talks about Cole Palmer potentially being back very, very soon. But we're going to kick things off with David Ornstein, Orny, who makes us all nice and horny. Bournemouth may be powerless to prevent Antoine Semenyo's sale in January. Contract includes 65 million release clause available to all clubs, but must be triggered by said date. So Bournemouth get the time to replace, applies again in the summer at a lower price. So a couple of very, very interesting points to note here. One, release clause for 65 million pounds available in this upcoming January window to all clubs, everyone all around the world. It's available, but it's got to be, by a certain time. I don't think you can trigger it, 1 week before the transfer window closes. You got to give enough time to Bournemouth to find a replacement. Two, if he isn't sold in the January window, that release clause is still available in the summer at a lower price. So look, I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans in social media get very giddy about this. I get it. Look, this player has been killing it. Then there's no two ways about it. He's with all the changes that Bournemouth has had, with all the players that they've lost over the last summer window, and they've lost some key players. Antoine Semenyo is one that stayed and is making Bournemouth fight, absolutely making Bournemouth fight. And along with Areola, what a top manager he is. He's going to go places 100% because this Bournemouth team shouldn't be competing with the likes of, Arsenal and Manchester City and Chelsea and so on and so forth. It really shouldn't be competing at the highest level. I'm pretty sure Bournemouth are quite high up in the table as well. We are third. I'm sure Bournemouth, let me have a look. They're probably in the top 5. No. Oh, wow. Bournemouth are 9th. I had no idea. But 18 points. They're on 18. Sorry. Yeah, 18 points. They're on 18 points. And Liverpool are 18 points. Man United are on 18 points. Aston Villa, Tottenham. So there's a lot of teams that are on 18 points. Sunderland on 19 points. So they're quite high up. Areola's done a mad job. Semenyo's done a fantastic job as well, scored a lot of goals, assists as well. He looks like a player, he's got it all. He's got the dribbling 1v1, sometimes even 1v2. He's fast, he's robust, he's physical. Now, my only concern is the way Bournemouth play. They don't generally come up against, low blocks on a regular basis. How is he going to, how's he going to feature? Or how's he going to fare against teams that are going to sit back and have a very, very structured backline, a rigid backline? How is he going to operate in those instances? We don't get to see that on a week-to-week basis because Bournemouth, as I said, comes up against teams that want to attack them, which then allows Antoine Semenyo's attacking prowess to come into fruition because he likes the space, he likes to attack players 1v1. So that is my only concern. Having said that, he could potentially still be a very, very good player against low blocks. But having said that, Chelsea Football Club, in my personal opinion, I don't think is going to go for a player like Semenyo. I'll tell you why. A lot of you guys are probably thinking, no, we should be. We need to. We need to upgrade on our left side. Garnacho, Gittens, Pedro Neto. Yeah, we need more. We need better. I hear it. I get it. But this is why I don't think it's going to happen. Semenyo is already 25 years old. We don't generally go out there and buy players that are above 25. We might have done that odd one here and there. This is probably one that we should be, but I don't think we're going to do it. Number two, £65 million is probably a bit too hefty for Chelsea Football Club, on top of what type of wages Semenyo is going to want to demand, I suppose, or what type of wages he's going to demand. Who knows? Is it going to fit within the 150,000 wage structure that we have? It may. It very well may. That might not be the biggest sticking point. But the other sticking point is we need to sell before we purchase. There's no way we're going to fork out £65 million out of thin air if we're not selling. We have to sell. Now you're going to be saying, well, sell Pedro Neto. Yeah, you're not going to be able to just sell Pedro Neto. And how much you think you're going to be able to sell Pedro Neto for 65 million? I don't know. I don't think so. You're probably looking at about maybe 50 million. Maybe a tad short of 50 million. So you're going to have to get rid of a few players to make room for Semenyo, because that's the predicament we find ourselves in. With the UEFA restrictions, with the financial fair play stuff that's been imposed on us, we have to let go of players. So age is not with us. Is more than 25 years old. Wage, I think, can be supported. Selling players, because 65 million, these type of business is not an easy business for us. So personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I do think Liverpool are probably well ahead of us. Liverpool, one thing I want to say, you've bought a lot of players recently and it's not worked out. You want to keep buying more players, which no problems, you probably need it. But is it all going to click? Who knows? Who knows? But he does come across to me as a more of a Liverpool-esque type of a player. Gives me the Sadio Mane kind of vibe. Liverpool do like to play on the counter, and he could potentially fit that bill. I know Liverpool at times want to hold possession, but that's when we'll see how it all works out. Because for me, it's still a question mark, Semenyo in a possession-based team. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts about Antoine Semenyo's release clause. Would you trigger it? If you're a Chelsea, fan, would you trigger it, or do you think you have some question marks over Semenyo? He's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, Romeo Lavia. Man United rejected Chelsea's offer of Romeo Lavia as part of the deal to sign Alejandro Garnacho due to concerns over his fitness record. This is coming from Mark Ogden, who's a very, very reputable journalist for Man United. Interesting. Man United rejected Chelsea's offer, which means Chelsea are putting Romeo Lavia in the market. And look, I can't even blame Chelsea right now, if I'm being absolutely honest. I think Romeo Lavia is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong, but he's barely available. Once again, he's in the injury room, and he's out for at least a month, and then after that, slowly coming back into team training, and then after that, managing. So, but by the time we completely see Romeo Lavia again, it's probably about 2 months, right? That's how things roll with Romeo Lavia. So there's a lot of fans out there who are very upset. Oh my God, imagine if that went down. Garnacho to Chelsea and Lavia to Man United. Ooh, that would have been crazy, to be honest. I probably would have lost my mind as well if that had actually taken place at that time. But now, thinking about the situation and the way Garnacho is performing and the way hopefully he can improve, I see what Chelsea were looking at. This is where, we're not sporting directors. This is where we're not the owners, because we as a fan base, we like to operate with emotions, whereas the owners, sporting directors, they're more thinking about, well, take the emotions aside. We have a commodity, we have a player that's barely available. If there's a way we can offload and bring in someone else who can better serve us, then why not? So I get that. But one thing is certainty. What does that mean for Romeo Lavia down the track at Chelsea Football Club? Well, it means that he's probably one that might be put back into the market. We'll see what happens in the January window, but we'll definitely keep an eye out for the summer window for Romeo Lavia. If his injury issues do not get better, best believe he's going to be out of Chelsea Football Club. Now, next up, ladies and gentlemen, Nicolas Jackson. Bayern have no intention at the moment to trigger Nicolas Jackson's buying option. However, he is still expected to stay until the end of the season. There was some rumors that maybe Bayern might let him go in the January. Look, do you know what? The couple of times I've seen him for Bayern Munich, don't get me wrong, he's missed chances as well, but he's looked all right. I know, look, I've said it many times. There's some clear, distinct skill set that Nicolas Jackson has that is, that is beneficial for Chelsea Football Club. But then there are flaws as well, which makes it very difficult. I'm not going to run away from the flaws. I'm not going to pretend there was no flaws. The amount of chances, gilt-edged chances Nicolas Jackson missed at Chelsea Football Club was mad. And then sometimes his final third decision-making was also not on point, which is why we are where we are with João Pedro and Liam Delap and so on and so forth. But do you know what? This experience he's having at Bayern Munich, it's only going to make him a better player. I've got no qualms if he is to be integrated back at Chelsea Football Club come next season. Now, the problem here is not Chelsea. And I don't even think it's Enzo Maresca fully. I think the problem here is Nicolas Jackson. I don't think he wants to join Chelsea Football Club anymore. He wants to be the number one player here, and he sees that he's not, because there's João Pedro, there's Liam Delap, and he's not interested to compete here. So the problem for me, I feel like, is the player himself who doesn't want to return back to Chelsea Football Club. And if he does, somehow comes back to Chelsea, he wants to manufacture an opportunity to leave Chelsea again. So whether Bayern buys this player or not, I don't think this player wants to be a Chelsea player ever again. Me personally, as I said, I don't mind. I think the experience that he's getting at Bayern Munich will only be beneficial for Chelsea Football Club, but the player does not want to return back. That's how I look at it. But we'll see where things stand in the summer once Bayern sends it back. Looks like Bayern Munich don't want to keep the player. We got hefty loan fee off him. Let's see what happens to the player in the summer window. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea are working to get Cole Palmer back fit in time to make his return from injury in the Champions League clash with Barcelona. There's some rumors going around that he's already started doing some training on his own. He's going to soon, return to full team training. And then we'll see whether he can be ready for Burnley. I think the Burnley game is probably a bit too early. We'll see whether he can get some minutes off the bench against Barcelona. That would be sensational. At Stamford Bridge, Cole Palmer returns. Barcelona, Yamal as well, some injury concerns over there, whether he's going to be fit for that game. But boy, what a sensational sight it'll be if Cole Palmer's fully fit and he's ready to rock and roll from the bench against Barcelona. And then we've got Arsenal the week after, which will be perfect for Cole Palmer to get the minutes against Barcelona and then really go gung-ho against Arsenal. With some big fixtures coming up: Burnley, Barcelona, Arsenal. We need the services of Cole Palmer 100% if we want to have a genuinely a good season this season. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the latest that's popping off at Chelsea Football Club right now. Let me know your thoughts. We've got All You Can Eat Chelsea blockbuster episode coming up. A lot of people are lined up for it. Just to give you guys some names, obviously Connor and CB, they're back. You guys have enjoyed having them last week, so they're back. We've got 100% Eunice is here this week. He was caught up in a meeting last week. We've got Javon in the building. We've got Don, who's going to make sure he's there as well this week. So already blockbuster, and then there's a surprise package. You guys will need to see the show. Someone who's very, very prominent on X, and he's going to be on the show. So do look out for that. Smash up the like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Until next time, take care. See ya.